Welcome back, gamers, to the only show that actually helps you win. Except for the dice. We bring you another episode of Tactics Talk, where Ed Sales and Austin Copeland go over what makes them such great Flames of War players. Now, introducing our hosts, Ed and Austin! You're gonna like the way they tactic. We guarantee it.
Thank you very much, Son, for leading us in. That was awesome as usual. It is me, Ed, with Tactics Talk, and
Austin Copeland with Tactics Talk. How have you been, Ed?
I have been tired. How are you?
I had a great Christmas, and I'm looking forward to New Year's, which is tomorrow. Looking forward to another year with the version 4 late war announcement coming out, some more mid-war stuff coming out next year. I think it's going to be a great year for Flames and tabletop in general. So looking forward to it and getting into the game.
Yeah, I saw the Reese. It's going to be interesting seeing going to late war version 4 next year. Sorry, guys, we haven't been able to get a podcast out sooner. Both of us have been really busy with our holiday schedule. But we're going to start off with a kind of a year in review of 2018 of what we've seen in the tournament scene. Was there a meta? Was there not a meta? What lists did we see flood the market and then only fade away very quickly? Has there been any lists that you think you've seen at the beginning of 2018? Let's do it by quarters. What in the first quarter did you see a lot in this year?
So I remember a conversation earlier when Armored Fist came out, Death and Glory, when that was going to come out, and everyone was worried about how Valentines were just going to be these invincible buckets of death. With the Death and Glory, they're not going to run away. Front armor 6, side armor 6, you can upgrade them to the AT-10 gun. Well, not upgrade, but you could get them with the AT-10 gun. Just in general, there was a great cry of, oh my god, this is going to be so horrible, and it ended up, I don't think Death and Glory lived up to that fear of it being an overpowered list, that it was just going to take the game by surprise and by force. I think they turned out to be kind of too expensive to take for what you were getting.
I kind of agree with you and disagree with you on that. I have only played it once, or played against it once, I should say, and I took L640s. So, that was...
If I bring my Ford Focus against a Valentine, there's only going to be one winner there.
Yeah, so it did not go well. And an opponent I played against took the card that made them last stand on a 2-up, and they just did not die at all. I thought it was a very fun formation, but I don't see where it was as big as people thought it would be. It seemed like there was going to be a land rush where everybody was going to play Death and Glory Squad, and it just never materialized, in my opinion.
I don't know. It's just I think it's a niche list, and while niche lists are good, they're not cheap enough to flood the field, so you can't play them as a horde. They're not good enough with their gun that you can, take on a PZ4 formation or a PZ3 formation. Really, the only thing you have going for you is that really good front armor 6 armor, but now that version 4 it's not just Africa Corps, front armor 6 isn't really that amazing anymore.
No.
So, between Death and Glory, the Scout tanks earlier in the year, everyone knew that was overpowered and amazing.
Yeah.
But after the change, I don't think that turned out to be a really good meta. So, that was a meta for, 6 months of the year? Not even?
I wouldn't even say 3 months, really, before it quickly faded away.
Yeah, I play my Crusaders and Stuarts without it now, so... Crusade. But, with command card metas, I want to talk about a good command card, Cavalry Commander. That's where my money is for the Brits. If you're going to run a Brit list with tanks, Crusaders, or Honey Stuarts, Cavalry Commander's where it's at. Being able to shoot after you do a follow me on a 3+, that's money right there.
It's funny how some things materialize long after things have been out. For example, when version 4 first came out, it was Desert Rats versus Africa Corps. And the biggest worry was people running Stewart hordes or Crusader swarms and just flooding the table with these light, cheap tanks and winning. And then we get to the Historicon, which was the Nationals on the East Coast, and there wasn't an Allied player in the top 4. It was the top 4 were German. And people were taking the Stewart hordes, they were taking the Crusader swarms, and it just did not materialize. Now we're into 2018. Now we're starting to see the revival of Crusader swarms and Stewart hordes. Are they a meta? No, but they're approaching it. I certainly think it is.
I've talked with Jackson in detail after Masters, after a 6-0 sweep with these Stewarts and Crusaders. Like, is it a meta? No. Is it a good list?
Yes.
It can be. There's just so much that can do to stop it. That the 5-up morale is really what pings it down. And, focus firing, while that might get you your points from just wiping a platoon, taking them out piecemeal. And now that, higher AT units are out there, I don't know. I'm still waiting for the day that they just don't win me games anymore. And it hasn't come yet. I just don't know when that day is going to be.
Yeah, and to be fair, you haven't played against Ghost Panzers or Red Banner yet, correct?
So I played against Red Banner, but I have not played against Ghost Panzers. So I don't know what I'm going to do against a Ferdinand with a Honey Stewart, but probably not much.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
There are definitely units out there that you just can't touch, but my idea is I just treat them like I treat a tiger, just as long as it's not the formation of Ferdinands.
Ferdinands, yeah.
That would be a really bad list for me to play against, I guess.
It's interesting how that there's some things that come out and it takes a while for it to materialize. Another example, the L640. That the Avante came out, the command cards came out, and no one really batted an eye at the L640, right?
But it wasn't until people started putting them together with the German armored car formation that really,
right?
By itself, the L640 really isn't that good, and by itself, the German armored cars aren't really that good.
No, but the L640 for 1 point with the making the assault light tanks is really incredible. It really is, and Benny Christian wrote a very nice article on their Dice and Glory about them, and when I read the article, it's like, I have to run this now. So I take it to the tournament, and just people were amazed at how well it did, and the next thing I know, everybody's buying L640s.
So would you say then meta may not be a formation meta? Meaning a unit by itself may not be what we would consider being a meta type thing, but maybe more how the command cards change the units to be better than what they are. Because Cavalry Commander, Scout Tanks, the Italian upgrade, Regulars by God, just these command cards, you pay for them, but they drastically change the way the game can be played.
Well, let's change, going along the same lines, a meta in terms of how you play the game or how you win the game. You're taking Stewarts, light tanks, you're taking L640s, light tanks, and you're just using them to rush an objective and assault the objective and run it off and hope that your opponent doesn't have a lot of AT assets. Right?
You are. Well, think about it. I think that was in our first podcast when we talked about, aggressive plays tend to win more often than not than a defensive play. So light tanks are really good at aggressive play, so then maybe we can say the meta is an aggressive playstyle.
Yeah.
So, all that to suffice to say, maybe the meta is an aggressive playstyle. Maybe it's command cards. Maybe it's the units. I think there's just too much maybe here to really say. And, Mitch may be happy to hear this, but maybe there's no such thing as a meta.
I don't really think there is. I think there's a lot of hype around things, and people go, "Oh, this is going to create a meta," and it just never materializes. The Panther, for example, the recent lessons from the front. We're not going to get too much into that, but people are getting upset about taking the Panthers and Africa Corps But if you're saying it's just from the game standpoint, not the historical standpoint, why the heck would you want to take Panthers? I do not understand why someone would want to take Panthers.
Ed, bringing up Panthers, you kind of hit right next on the schedule here. Why would you take Panthers? Like, I don't know. I don't see a tactical use for them in the game. They're too expensive compared to what you can take as a German player. Because for less points, you can take a Ferdinand, which is arguably better in every aspect.
Yeah. I could care less if it doesn't have a machine gun. I didn't take it to fend off infantry and assault. I will have things surrounding it to stop that from happening. For example,
you bring those 2 Panthers because, let's be honest. I think 2 Panthers is where you're going to see them. That's only 6 machine gun shots, so it's not. You're not going to be throwing back assaults with 6 machine gun shots.
I think taking 2 Panthers is even more of a. I don't get why you'd take 2. Let's say you have infantry and you take 2 Panthers and you're like, okay, so for 36 points, I have 2 Panthers. Well, congratulations for those same 36 points. I got a Ferdinand, 4 Martyrs. That leaves me with, 7 points left? I'll get an armored car formation for that.
Yeah,
the entire armored car formation. That's the bare minimum of that armored core formation. I do not understand why anybody would take Panthers. I really don't.
And we were just talking about how front armor is not really that big of a deal. So with the Panthers getting that nerf down to front armor 9, how much AT-12 stuff is in the game now? It's not just 17 pounders. It's not just 88s anymore. You have a lot of stuff with AT-12 that at range, a 1 or a 2, that's a 1 in 3 chance of getting a pin from Martyrs, M10s, the Lancia, the 90 millimeters. There's a lot of stuff in the game with AT-12 now.
And you want to know something that is always kind of it happens. You're like, dang, I can't believe it happened. When someone fires their artillery with AT-3 and hits your top armor 1, and you roll a 1, congratulations, it's dead. Or it bails and you have a 5-up reluctant rating. It's like, okay, well, this is done.
And, I know people know I hate airplanes, but an AT-7, a Hurricane, or a P-40, P-47 on the side armor, that AT-7 against that side armor 5. The solution that the Panthers are supposed to give was be the Tigers, but more rate of fire. So you have all that more rate of fire. And if you just let your Panthers sit back and shoot T-34s all day, okay, you can do that. But the Soviets aren't going to do that anymore. They have too much stuff that can kill you, and being hit on 3s, you're going to get schwacked before you kill a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I've seen battle reports where Panthers are taken against like T-34s and stuff like that, and the battle reports are showing good results for a formation of 5 Panthers and like a small infantry platoon. But you're not going to, in a tournament scene, you're not facing that kind of list.
Think about your friendly games. Are you really going to see the perfect matchup every week? I don't think so. And if I know that you have 5 Panthers, do you know what I'm not going to bring next Sunday?
Stuarts
and T-34s. I'm gonna build a list to beat you. So I'm gonna bring a German pack line or bring bazookas and assault the bejesus out of you.
just bring infantry and just keep forcing the Panther back. You know what I mean?
Yep. So I don't know. Is there a place for the Panther in the game? Absolutely. It's a good tank. It's just overpriced, underperforming, and in a game that's based on points, if you're not playing a historical game, and I don't want to say historical like, oh, Panthers camping in the desert, that wasn't historical. That's not what I'm getting at. A historical game like playing the Battle of El Alamein, where it's not a thing, then it's just, I think you're wasting points. I think you could, like you were saying, bring Martyrs, bring Dianas, bring Pack 4, bring all these other things that are way more cheap to get those items that you need.
I think Panthers only have 2 places in this game. One of them is in late war, And the second one is a mega battle where you've taken every other option but the Panthers, and you have points left for the Panthers for some reason.
That's true.
I do not like Panthers in mid-war.
If you are able to hit all your wickets and you have an extra 30 or 40 points lying around, having an extra 1, 2, 3 Panthers on the field, I mean, it's a scary tank. I can't ignore them. But as a formation or in a small point game, they're just too expensive. So, with late war coming out, it'll be interesting to see how the points change for them in late war. Maybe we'll see the reduction because of late war. Tanks are cheaper in late war. That's just the way it goes. So
I think Panthers in late war, you could feel them as a formation that will actually be usable.
Yeah, bring 10 Panthers in a formation. That's actually pretty scary because in late war, that tank is still amazing in late war. So
yeah, or even a smaller formation where you bring a lot of support, which is where the Germans kind of survive and rely on, is needing a lot of support.
That's true. Well, I think we've bashed Panthers long enough, Ed. I have some really exciting news.
Oh, what is that?
Well, my daughter's here with me, so there's that. But I am pleased to announce, finally, after months of working on it, No Dice, No Glory is getting ready to release their takes, an unofficial PDF of Romanians and Hungarians in mid-war.
What?
Sounds like she's pretty excited about it just as much as some other people are.
Yes, she is. So, with the PDF releasing in the next 1 to 2 weeks, basically we're just taking this time to put it together, make sure that it's scrubbed, that we're not misspelling words and stuff like that. But by January 15th, No Dice, No Glory is going to release these for your use and download on our website. And we're just going to go over them real quick because to bring them into version 4, some things had to change and some things had to be modified to make it a legal type thing in version 4. Now, Ed, you've seen these documents. What are your initial reactions for these?
Well, we just spent literally just over 2 hours going over the Romanian PDF and the Hungarian PDF. And I went over it with Austin, who wrote the Romanians, and Ian, who wrote the Hungarians.
Mm-hmm.
And we made some changes to them, and I think they compare very well to what is currently out there as far as the competitiveness, the points you pay, the look and feel that you expect from a version 4 list.
Yep. After months, we've playtested these for months. I don't know how Battlefront does their playtesting, but that was the hardest part to get this done, is to get the games in with them, to make sure that no one wants to release a player-generated thing that is just the absolute most overpowered thing, because no one wants to play that. But after, how many times have you seen that on Facebook? Oh, when are we going to release Romanians? When are we going to see Hungarians? So, what's neat about these is because No Dice No Glory hosts so many tournaments, you will be able to use these at No Dice No Glory hosted events. So if we're hosting a mid-war event, we would be more than happy to have you use these at our events. So you'll actually be able to use them against Germans and Russians in competitive play, not just in your basement, because no one wants to do that. And obviously this is a stopgap measure until Battlefront actually releases their official books, but that being a year to 2 years from now, this is a nice stopgap measure. So as stated before, these are unofficial. Battlefront. These are not. You're not going to have to pay for these. These are absolutely free. But for all of us that have the models and would like to see them, it should be something neat. So, kind of just going over them briefly. I'll start with the Romanians, just because they're near and dear to my heart. The biggest thing that people complained about in version 3 with Romanians was that the roll. Let's see if I roll for veterans all day long. So that is gone in version 4. Now it's a command card upgrade. If you want vets, you got to pay for it. It's going to be a 4-point upgrade, actually. So that's something that's a major change to the Romanians. Another major change is to their tank platoons. So Romanians, because of the November 20th assault that the Soviets did, and they just smashed through the Romanian lines, what ended up happening was Romanian tanks kind of just went willy-nilly, like, we need a tank over here, we got a tank, let's send them in. So Romanian tank platoons are no longer bought as a PZ4 platoon or PZ3 platoon. You buy up to 4 tanks in a platoon, and you buy them individually. So in your tank courier formation, you're going to have the option of T-38s, which are PZ-38Ts, PZ-3 shorts, and PZ-4 up-armored long-barreled PZ-4s. And these are the tanks, and you'll be able to mix and match up to 4 tanks in a platoon maximum. So you take 1 PZ-4, a PZ-3, and 2 T-38s. So that gives you the ability to really kind of make very custom platoons. Do you want a platoon that's very expensive but really good at killing tanks? Or do you want a cheaper platoon and have the T-38s that are maybe better at going against infantry? So that'll be an interesting change to the Romanian tank formations. And bringing the version 3 support in from the version 3 list, you'll still be able to bring your heavy mortars. The TACM T-60 is coming over to version 4, ported over. Yep. The Recce Troop is still there. The dive bombers are still there. So a lot of the support is coming over. We're seeing the Romanian formation as a whole coming over to version 4. The Pukasi formation is going to be, I think, point for point, the cheapest Axis infantry right now. So in your Pukasi formation, you're going to be getting 10 rifle teams for 7 points. And then from further upgrades to the formation in the form of HMGs and Vantadore teams. Vantadore de Care teams, sorry. So it'll be a nice addition to the Axis side of the table, comparing them to Russians. So you'll be able to actually field a large infantry formation with Romanians that would be able to kind of fight back those large Russian formations.
Yeah, I would say that the Romanian infantry are an interesting blend of the Soviet rifles as well as the American rifles. It's really a melting pot of those two. And one thing that I don't think I mentioned is with these PDFs also come command cards.
Yes.
For example, the command card that I find the most interesting for the Romanians is General Ion Sion. And the command card, it costs 8 points, and you hear 8 points, and you're just like, oh, you're automatically turned off. But you got to think about what value this command card has. So what it does is this force cannot contain any model with an AT value over 2. All infantry teams become AT3. So you're going like, all right, so I can't get my AT guns. I probably can't take artillery, because they're going to have AT value over 2. I'm stuck with infantry that has AT3. What am I going to do with that? Well, as Austin plays it, you have a ton of infantry just runs around the table with now AT3. And it's a different way to play infantry, And I really think that one card changes an entire way on how you play with this infantry.
No, absolutely. It changes the feel of the force. So instead of a balanced force, you're getting rid of all the options to focus on infantry, basically.
And you can also take the Romanians and Hungarians as an allied support with the Germans.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also something to keep in mind if you still want to get some of your German units, or you have a German tank formation. You're like, hey, I need cheap infantry, and I can't get that from the Germans. Well, here you go. Here's some Romanian Hungarians.
Exactly, and so something with the Romanians, they being so cheap, they do come with their own negatives and positives, and one of those negatives is Romanians have a motivation of 5. This is kind of counteracted. They have a better last stand, and they're actually pretty good in the assault. They counterattack on 3s and hit on 4s. So they're good in the assault, but getting them there, they're hit on 3s without the command card upgrades and stuff like that. So you have trained troops that are really, really interested in assault, but once you start whittling them down, they're not going to follow me very well. They're not going to stick around.
Not going to unpin well either.
Yeah, they're not going to unpin. So pinning them down, and these were peasants that got kind of forced into a war. So
Yeah.
They're cheap, but they come with their own ups and downs. So there's Romanians. Introducing the Hungarians, though, the Hungarians were a little bit different ally for the Germans. So the Hungarians were not a more professional army, but they were a more elite army, and that's represented in what we've put together here. So I guess the best way to explain the Hungarians is think of them as slightly, and when I say slightly, just ever so slightly cheaper Germans with some interesting special rules and some new equipment, because the Hungarians actually had some of their own equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of focusing on some. The Turan is making its debut into version 4. Now, what the Turan does, the best way to think of the Turan, I think a good comparison is the PZ3. It's a little bit cheaper PZ3, but you can upgrade it to have an AT9 gun. Now, what's neat about the Hungarians is their special rules for their tanks. So, with their special rules, you have Magyar Steel and Hussar. So, Hussar, if Hungarian players will be familiar with that, it's the same from version 3 to version 4. Now, Magyar Steel is to represent the propensity, I guess, of Hungarian tankers were very motivated to get into combat. And when they were held back from tanks, it was not unheard of to have Hungarians get out of their tanks and assault on foot. So Magyar Steel, obviously we're not going to give you infantry stands coming off of tanks here. But what it does is it gives your tanks a little bit better assault value. So Hungarian tanks assault on 3s, which is an interesting flavor for these tanks. So, and when I say a little bit cheaper than a PZ3, it's 1 point cheaper per tank. So nothing too crazy there. The Hungarians have the T-38, which is a PC-38. So a nice light tank. AT-6, so nothing crazy there. The Toldi is coming back to version 4. Just the Hungarians, it was amazing how much armored vehicles they have. The Kasaba armored car, like they just have a lot of interesting tanks. So it'll be interesting to see how the Hungarians are able to put these tanks on the field, along with their infantry, motorized infantry.
I'm going to say that the most interesting thing in the Hungarian PDF is the Tank Destroyer Company. This is something that is my understanding was not seen in version 3. And it's essentially a formation where you take Nimrods.
Yes.
And a Nimrod is not a great vehicle by itself, but being able to feel the formation of them, they're not too expensive. I believe they're coming in at 3 points apiece. But they have a halted rate of fire of 4 with AT7. You blitz those out, and you can just really wreck stuff. You know what I mean?
You can. So the idea, so it's the Bofors 40mm gun on it, and like you say, yeah, blitz them out. Now you'll shred things like armored cars. This is not going to be good for them. L640 is not so good for them. But that AT7, think about what does the AT7 have trouble against? Front armor 6 tanks. So your Shermans, T-34s, up armored PZ3s and PZ4s. Like, it's going to have a hard time doing anything with them, especially considering it's only got a front armor of 2.
Yeah, that's what martyrs are for.
That is what martyrs are for. So, these are basically martyrs with really bad guns and a shorter range. They're only range 24. So, it'll be interesting to see these. Now, these will be the bane. You never bring air against these guys because they are dedicated AA along with them. So, you can they're AA tanks, but using them in an anti-tank role is actually not a bad idea.
Yeah, both the PDFs are very well put together, in my opinion.
So, but don't want to spend too much time on them. We have a little bit more in-depth article on them coming out. And like I said, they will be out posted by January 15th. So something to look forward to in the new year. Hopefully this wets your whistle for the lack of minor nations in Mid-War right now. So it was just, I was very excited to announce these. So, but wrapping it up, I think we've bumbled on long enough for tonight. We are going to end with our tourney wrap-up. January 12th, and Critical Hit in Maryland is going to be a late war tournament, 1675 points. Those are usually good tournaments up there. I enjoy my time up at Critical Hit.
I really feel like the Maryland gaming crew is really starting to come alive, in my opinion. I was up there 2 weeks ago playing at games and stuff, and I was above and beyond impressed with the way they handle themselves. The sportsmanship is incredible at that group. It was a lot of fun to play against. Learned a lot. It was a lot of fun.
Yep. And then following that up, about 40 days after that, down here in Norfolk, Atlantis will be hosting an early war tournament at 1550 points. So a nice chance to exercise those early war lists that collect dust on the shelf. Finally,
I'm sad that there's not more early war events. It's a really interesting time period. And I'm glad we're going to be doing some early war stuff.
Early war is probably my favorite time period out of all three of them. It's just it's forgiving, especially for a newer player, I think, because firepower 3 up is very rare in early war. So you can run your stuff around. Machine gun's actually a pretty dangerous tool in early war. So I think it's forgiving for new players. I'm just excited. And let's be honest, there's nothing more fun than seeing little TKSs running around. Matilda's on the field, the king of the field right there.
Yeah.
It's just a fun period. So Atlantis, February 23rd, 1550 points. And that kind of leads us into March, which here on the East Coast is going to be Cold Wars. The PLs have been submitted for it, so nothing that we can really tell you right now because it hasn't been introduced. But No Dice No Glory will be hosting a Team Yankee themed event and a Flames of War tournament. So those will be the two events that will be hosted at Cold Wars, but more information and specifics to follow.
Yep.
So with that, I hope you all had a great 2018. I hope your new year is blessed and you roll sixes, nothing but sixes.
Yeah, and again, let us know if there's anything you guys want us to talk about. We're more welcome to answer questions, dive into some different theories or strategies you guys want to take a look at. We're more than welcome to take a look at that stuff because that's what we enjoy to do.
That's it. So for me, 2019, I'll be making PZ4s great again. So hopefully I see you on the battlefield. And for myself and Ed Sales, I hope you have a great new year. And thank you for listening.
See ya.
Thanks so much for joining the show tonight. Remember to follow us on Twitter at No Dice, No Glory. And keep the conversation going on NoDiceNoGlory.com, now featuring our own message boards. Have a great night, everybody.